So welcome everyone to Street Talks, our first Zoom Street Talks. Everyone's been doing a lot of thinking around this area, and I think the COVID pandemic has really highlighted the relation between transport and health, both individual health, but also general public health, and the fact that how we move very directly impacts both our well-being and the well-being of the people around us.
So, the twist that we did was to totally repurpose ourselves from, I think it was the week before lockdown through until present day. So where I am today at home is our headquarters for Bikeworks currently. So we've been running a 7-day-a-week emergency response, getting out, and we're going into Bike Week on Saturday. We should have reached 10,000 individual deliveries of essential hot meals, medicines, foods, and NHS testing kits to our most shielded and to our most vulnerable and shielded residents. And by that, I'm not talking about the government view on it. These are people that are less likely to be seen by social workers or health professionals at this time. So if I tell you that we're reaching out to residents across London who are at home at times by themselves with very severe enduring mental health conditions, where we are acting as a safeguarding response and flagging that with emergency services, including the police and ambulance service. So we've had an incredible couple of months, and we're looking now with getting our business as usual, or the next normal as we like to call it, back in place with opening up our clubs, is to look at better funding for the cycle delivery service. So we're currently running about 3 different business models within our own enterprise.
Hello everyone, so welcome to Barnes. And Barnes is one of London's oldest villages, and to be honest, it hasn't changed much in 300 years. Barnes is bounded by the River Thames, as you can see on the map, on 3 sides. And with Hammersmith Bridge, our main gateway to central London, now closed to motor traffic, no wonder some of the residents call it the biggest cul-de-sac in the world. Barnes was a separate borough for 80 years until the 1960s, and now it's part of Richmond upon Thames. And the BCA, the Barnes Community Association, has a strong relationship with the local council. Emma and I work for the BCA. It was set up in the 60s by residents to protect our green spaces and to fight big transport and residential development. And Emma will talk more about this in a minute. But our history and experience has led us into action in the early days of lockdown, when we put in place this beautiful piece of tactical urbanism. So I was told the first COVID-19 street intervention in the UK, but yeah. And we love a bit of tactical urbanism here in Barnes. I mean, we normally do things more like street art on service cabinets and planting flowers around trees on the pavements, but this time it was all about function.
And one of my first priorities was to set up a town team for Barnes. And unlike many other town teams across the country, we took a decision at our first meeting, rather than just focusing on the retail scene in Barnes, we wanted to look wider than that and look at some public realm issues and see what we could do to make Barnes a real destination and bring people in to boost our local economy. So we decided to hold a charrette, which we called the Big Barnes Ponder. And after a year of planning, that event happened. And the result was a vision for the future of Barnes, which has driven my workload over the last 7 or 8 years. In fact, we're still working on many of the projects that people dreamed of that day. In the photographs there, you can see the dreams of residents as to what they wanted Barnes to look like, and then working together in groups, we brought in transport planners and other planners to help us model what we wanted our green spaces to look like. As a result of the neighbourhood, as a result of the Big Barnes Ponder, we talked about setting up a neighbourhood forum. Such was the activeness of our local community, which would have given us more independence and more control over our own budgets. And this is something we didn't do it at the time, but something we may pick up again in the future. But our ponder vision informed the council's plan for Barnes. And so that vision became part of a more official document that the council then has helped us around the country, was that of getting food in, particularly for those who are isolating and can't get out and can't get supermarket delivery slots. So in response to this crisis, another of our projects has been an online shop. So we work closely with a number of independent food shops which have stayed open to help residents continue to support their shops without having to visit them. So they can order via our online shop, and their orders are delivered by our e-cargo bike. So you can see an image there of our bike with our redeployed riders from the bridge, who are no longer needed for our e-pedal taxi. And this project has been delivered again with the same e-transport company, Ginger. And so the early days of lockdown, this was critical for residents who were in isolation and couldn't get online deliveries, and were desperate because they were reliant on their neighbours to do all their shopping for them, which clearly wasn't practical. It was very popular. We had delivery slots of a couple of hours each day, and we were doing 70 deliveries a week in the first few weeks. So as the shops open over the next few weeks, we hope to bring more of them on board and to make this a really valuable service for our local businesses and bringing in extra income for them. So as we come out of lockdown, we're looking forward to picking up on some very exciting projects that we've been working on. Again, these are projects that came out of the Ponder, and they've been dormant for the last few months. So as we went into lockdown, we'd just been awarded a grant to conduct a feasibility study to restore a disused bridge that we have here in Barnes. It's a railway bridge, and we wanted to restore it to community use as a green walkway. So what you can see in that picture there is actually two bridges. There's the low structure in the front is the original bridge, which is grade 2 listed, and what you can see behind it is an arch bridge, which is the current bridge, which is in use as a railway track. So we want to restore the original bridge, which has been closed for over 100 years, so that the community can enjoy it, and hopefully that will help us boost our rather fragile local economy. A couple more pictures of the bridge there for you. On the left-hand side, you can see what it looks like at the moment. So it's rather unloved, a little overgrown, with one of the parapets missing on the right-hand side. And on the other image on the right-hand side, you can see an artist's impression of what it could look like.
All of a sudden, the city of Oakland in California, in the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area, kind of changed the game. They announced that they were going to implement a network of 74 miles of, that's about, help me out, 110 kilometers of slow streets, about 10% of their street network that they were going to close to through traffic. And they built the network around their recently adopted bikeway network. Almost overnight, little to no policing, very simple techniques and messaging across the city. Epidemic and institutional racism is it's an undeniable and powerful presence today. Whether we like it or not, our professions, the transport industry and transport issues, are inextricably linked to 4 centuries of oppression. And I had to write this down because I knew this was going to happen. In the past 100 years, the planning and transport professions here have been complicit in discriminatory, racist housing, urban renewal, and highway building programs that are major, I'll get a grip here, that are major contributors to a manifestly and dangerously inequitable society that means Black and brown people in America bear the brunt of air pollution, traffic violence, unemployment, poverty, obesity, diabetes, poor or no health care. The list just goes on. And it's culminating right now with Black and brown people suffering the effects of COVID-19 at 3 to 4 times the rate of white people, and with police brutality and a racist criminal justice system there for all to see. So let me be clear. I'm as passionate as ever in my belief that slow streets and open streets and Vision Zero and protected bike lanes and bike streets and quiet ways and bike sharing and micromobility, all that stuff, can and will deliver better, safer, healthier, happier communities and people. And I guess in some ways the pandemic has shown that that is possible, that that is true. But it's not any consolation to see protected bike lanes underfoot of protesters and the police. To see Boris bikes or Bloomberg bikes or whatever we want to call them, city bikes, being thrown through shop windows. And it's taken me a lot longer to realize than it should that voices raised in opposition to all of these great solutions by mobility justice advocates, by community-based organizations, by transport equity groups, they're not opposed to the outcomes themselves, but they are rightly and legitimately concerned by the process to which they're arrived at. It doesn't matter how awesome your slow streets are or how brilliant filtered permeability is if you have no voice in the decisions, if you're not heard in the conversation, if you derive no benefit from the economic value a project creates, if you don't trust the government after years of unfulfilled promises, if you believe it's being done for the benefit of rich white people in other parts of town, if you have no job, no food, no health care, you may well be focused on other priorities. More fundamental even than that, open streets or slow streets are meaningless if, in the words of Bruce Springsteen, you can be killed just for living in your American skin. Right now, and it's been true for a long time, Black people in America can't go for a run or walk down the street or go bird watching or drive or, God forbid, have any interaction with the police without fearing for their lives, without losing their lives. That's something that I can't fathom or experience, but it's real. And I know it has to change if we're going to change our streets for the better. I'm going to close with a series of questions, 5 questions that a colleague of mine at Tool Design has asked everyone in our company and the professions in which we work. And they're specifically about racism. London, I know, is not exactly immune from that. London has serious inequities, whether that be around race or gender or economic status, physical and mental abilities. And I think these questions will translate pretty well to whatever your reality or particular concern or issue is.